Hello, it's me, John Mark, again, with the Open the Book team. We've got another assembly for you. Remember, we did one about Samuel, the boy who kept hearing that voice calling him in the night, and then he got up and he went back to Eli, and Eli kept saying, go back to sleep, and finally he realized it was God talking to him, and he was a prophet. Then we did one after that about David. Remember David? He becomes king, or he's anointed as king, and then he goes and he sees this huge Goliath and he fights him with a sling. Do you remember that? Round and round and getting Goliath right in the head and defeating Goliath. And then, they didn't have to become slaves of the Philistine people anymore. So that David became a great king of Israel. And he had a son. I don't know if you'll remember the name of that son. Solomon. That's right. Solomon was David's son and he became king. And God said, you can ask me for anything. And Solomon said, I want some money. No, he didn't. He said, I want fame. No, he didn't. He said, I want wisdom so that I can lead these people wisely. And God gave him actually great wealth and great fame. But more than anything else, he gave him wisdom. And remember that terrible story of how he proved the wisdom? 2 mums came in, one with a baby, saying that the other, and they both said, this is my baby. How do you find out which one is the real mum? Solomon had that great idea of pretending to cut the baby in half, which is an awful thing, but he knew the real mother would rather give the baby to the other mother than see that their own baby killed. And that's exactly what happened. And so the real mother got the baby. Well, after Solomon, we've got a very interesting prophet today. Now remember, a prophet's supposed to be somebody who hears from God and tells other people about God. But this prophet was a groaner and a moaner. I don't know if you know anybody who groans and moans. Or maybe sometimes you do, maybe sometimes I do. But this man really didn't want to do what God asked him to do. God wanted him to go to a city called Nineveh, which admittedly were the enemies of the people at the time, of Jonah and his people at the time. And Jonah did not want to go to Nineveh. You see, the people in Nineveh were doing bad things, and God wanted to send Jonah to warn them that they must change the way they are living. Jonah didn't want to go. And you know what he did? He went the opposite way, the absolute opposite way. But God managed to convince him. This is a terrific story. So just before we open the book, some of you have Bibles. Now, if you have this Bible, a Bible that looks like this, then you can find this story on page 172. And it might look a bit like that. Can you see that? And if you're an older child and you have one of these Bibles, then you'll probably find the story on page 875. So let's open the book and hear the story.
Jonah the groaner. Jonah was a groaner. A groaner. So when God would go to Nineveh and tell the people who lived there to change their evil ways, what did Jonah do? That's right, Jonah groaned.
Not Nineveh. Ugh. Anywhere but Nineveh. The people of Nineveh are our enemies.
And when he had stopped groaning, Jonah bought himself a ticket for a boat ride that would take him far away from Nineveh. God listened to Jonah groan. God watched him buy his ticket. But God still wanted Jonah to go to Nineveh. So when the boat reached the deepest part of the ocean, God sent a storm.
Help us, we're sinking.
Save us, we're tipping over.
God must be very angry with someone here on board.
And what did Jonah do?
Oh, it's me. I'm the one God's angry with. He told me to go to Nineveh, and here I am, sailing in the other direction. Throw me overboard, and your troubles will be gone.
God, forgive us.
The sailors cried. They tossed Jonah into the water, and almost at once the sea grew calm.
I'm sinking. Oh no, I'm gonna drown. Oh no, that is the biggest fish I have ever seen.
And before he could groan another groan, the fish opened its mouth and swallowed Jonah up. It was God who sent the fish to rescue Jonah and to give him time to think. He had plenty to groan about, of course. The fish's slimy stomach, the seaweed, the smell. But Jonah was still alive, and that was something to cheer about. So Jonah stopped his groaning and said a prayer.
I was sinking, Lord. I was drowning. But you saved me. So I will do whatever you want me to do.
3 days later, the fish spat Jonah up on a beach. And Jonah kept his promise. He went straight to Nineveh and told the people that God wanted them to change their evil ways.
40 days is all you've got. And if you haven't changed by then, God will destroy your city.
The people of Nineveh listened. The people of Nineveh wept. Then the people of Nineveh changed. From the king right down to the poorest slave, they decided to do what was right. And what did Jonah do? Jonah groaned. He sat himself down in the shadow of a tree and he groaned.
I knew this would happen. You are an all-loving God who loves to forgive. But I still didn't like the people of Nineveh. I wish they had been destroyed.
Jonah fell asleep, groaning. And during the night, God sent a worm to kill the tree. When Jonah awoke, he groaned more than ever.
The tree is dead, and now I have no shade.
Oh, Jonah,
God sighed.
you cry about this tree, but you care nothing for the people of Nineveh. I want you to love them like I do. And finally,
God added,
I want you to stop your groaning. Wow. What a story, hey? Sometimes we think of this story as being about a whale, but actually it's more than that, isn't it? It's about not wanting to do something that you're supposed to do. Do you get asked to do things you don't really want to do? Maybe they're difficult things, and you really don't want to do them, but you should be doing them. You know you should, but you don't want to. Do you get that? I do. Now I'd like you to close your eyes. Now that your eyes are closed, think of something difficult. Maybe it's something you need to own up to, something you've done wrong. Or maybe you need to say sorry to a friend. Now I'm going to say a prayer. If you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, whenever we feel like running away from something really difficult. Please give us the courage to ask for help. Amen. Lovely to see you again. Now listen, we're going to be back soon with another story. Now this story involves one of these. It really does. It's a story about lions. Well, not just about lions, but it does have real lions in it. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great week or two, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.